I had a meltdown. What's up guys, my name is Morgan. I am a recent UX UI design bootcamp graduate from Career Foundry, and today I'm going to talk to you about the interviewing process fresh out of a UX design bootcamp. So yes, I had a meltdown and I cut my hair. The watermelons are back. And yeah, still no setup. Anyway, if you didn't already see it, there is a part 1 to this about job hunting fresh out of a boot camp. This is just going to address the interview process. This is a bunch of generalities. Every company's different depending on what they need. My boyfriend had an interview where they did paid training and then the interview process because they didn't want to hire anyone that they couldn't feel like they could train. So every company is completely different. I'm just going to share, like I said, just generalities as well as what I've experienced so far. So let's jump right in. First, I want to talk about design challenges because this can happen at any point in the interview process. It can be the first or last thing that you do. There are in-person design challenges where you are given a task and X amount of time to complete it. And this is more UX focused generally because they want to see your design process. And then there's also take-home projects. I actually completed one of these recently, that are generally more UI focused because they are interested in seeing the final product. So that can take anywhere from you have to submit it in 24 hours or you have to submit it in a week. Like I said, always depends on the company. Next, I'm going to talk about phone screenings. There won't always be a phone screening. Sometimes they just jump right into the first interview. But a phone screening is generally just to understand if you meet the very, very basic requirements, if you're okay with the pay range. Are you okay with working remotely or moving to a location or commuting? Do you understand what the role is? Also, just generally, what is your experience? So I had a phone screening with a recruiter for a junior product design position. These were all the questions that I was asked. She thought that I was a good fit and she passed it along to the hiring manager, who did not agree with her. But that's generally how it will go, is that phone screening usually with someone in HR. It's not always like that. Sometimes you're speaking directly with the person that you would be working with. But generally it is HR's job or a recruiter's job to conduct the phone screening, and then you're passed on to the next round, which would lead to your first interview. Here you will likely be asked a lot of the same questions that you were asked in your phone screening. They want to know about your background, they want to know if the pay is okay, especially if you're speaking to a new person, you just want to confirm all of that information. Through the first interview, they're trying to learn, do you meet the basic requirements? Are you a good fit for the company? Generally, do they like your personality? They also will probably try to understand a little bit about your processes and how you work. Questions that I've been asked is, why our company? What do you like about this field? What type of company culture are you looking for? And they might try to pitch themselves a little bit. I've even been asked more abstract questions like what my favorite sport is, and if they were drafting for that sport, why should they pick me? I think that they do this to learn a little bit, one, about your personality, also make things a little bit lighter in the interview, but also just to understand your way of thinking. Are you someone who often seeks for help? Are you someone who is a do-it-yourselfer? Are you someone who is too stubborn to ask for help? So just things to think about. So second interview is generally to understand if you're a good fit for the team. They also may want to understand your technical skills and knowledge. You also may find yourself repeating some of the same information again if they bring new people, like the people that you would be working directly with, into the interview. So you may have to repeat yourself. So examples of questions that I've been asked, what does heuristics mean? I've been asked, what is rage clicking? I didn't know that one. What is my favorite design tool? And then you may be asked more scenario-based questions to understand your problem-solving skills. Like if you're working with a client and they have X amount of dollars in their budget, how would you divide that budget? And I asked for clarification. She said, sorry, no, I'm keeping it vague. So I basically went through my process of how I would prioritize things and then divvy up the budget that way, and how I would have different options for the client and we would have to agree on something, but they would have to respect my professional opinion. I think they liked that answer, but there's no way of knowing. At this point, if they like you, you've made it to the second interview, they should be selling themselves to you more. So I was asked questions like, what non-traditional things can we offer you to get you to come to our company? So I know my values, and I said true support in continuing my education. So third interviews. I don't know how common these are, but they do exist, and it's sometimes just to get the approval of the final decision maker. Sometimes this can be a CEO, no pressure. Or they may bring you in to meet the team if you haven't met them already, to see if you're actually a good fit. The job offer. This is where you get to negotiate. Make sure to understand rates in your area. This is a benefit of speaking to recruiters, sort of learning what the general pay is in your area. So I learned in my area, the average pay for a junior UX designer is $35 to $40 an hour. So I know not to accept anything less than $30 an hour. That's flexible, because if I'm really valuing a learning experience, then I'll accept the $30 an hour, maybe lower. But at the very least, I'm able to put those numbers out there. If I like a position, but I feel like they're lowballing me, I can let them know, hey, this is the average pay for a designer in my area, and they can either adjust or let me go. If you do decide to decline an offer, make sure you do so with tact. Don't be rude, don't ignore them. Just be honest about why you will not be accepting that position, because one, you never know who other people know. Two, they may have a position that opens up that you would be a much better fit for, or maybe their budget will increase. Just be honest. Maybe they'll be flexible. Say, I'm sorry, I cannot accept your offer because I live too far away and you're unwilling to do work from home. I don't think that the pay lines up with my value, or the pay does not meet my cost of living standards, or just that you don't think you're a good fit. Be honest. You don't have to be incredibly specific, but they need feedback just like you do. Dealing with rejection. If you liked the company and you genuinely wanted that position, make sure to thank them for their time and ensure that they keep you in mind for positions that you may be a better fit for in the future. I always suggest asking for feedback in everything that you do. Do this if you feel comfortable. Don't email them saying, oh, what did I do wrong? Just say, I really appreciate the time you took to meet with me, and I would just love to know if there's anything that I could work on for the future. Sometimes you really click with an interviewer, but you're just not the most qualified candidate, so you can keep in touch with them and hopefully there will be a position for you in the future. And if you didn't really want the job or you didn't like the company, then nice. Lastly, I'm going to give you some tips for interviewing. Firstly, please remember, it's okay to stop and think. I am a notorious rambler. If I don't stop and think and try to collect my thoughts, I will go on forever. This is something I had to learn with a lot of practice. That's why it's important to take as many interviews as possible to practice this, or practice in the mirror, or practice with a friend. Let the interviewer know that you just need a second to collect your thoughts to properly and accurately answer the question. They'll totally be okay with that. And if they're not, then red flag. It is important to verbalize it, especially if you're doing a video interview, otherwise they may think you're frozen. If you don't know how to answer a technical question, that's okay, let them know. I was asked what rage clicking was, and I said, honestly, I have never heard of rage clicking before. And they said, okay, that's a perfectly fine answer. You do have to answer non-technical questions though. If they ask you a vague question, ask for clarity. You can't just say, I don't know how to answer that, because that's gonna get your resume thrown in the trash. Make sure to have your priorities straight. It's unfair to the interviewer if you don't know what you want. You won't know how to answer questions, you'll be all over the place, especially if it's a multi-step interview process. You're going to be inconsistent and it's just not gonna go well, and you're going to get nervous. Also, if you're bullshitting them, they'll either smell it from a mile away and not want to work with you, or they'll love it, say, oh, this is a yes man, and try to take advantage of you. Write thank you emails after every time you speak with them. It's very polite and it will keep you in their minds. And I've said this before, but take every interview that you can. It's great practice. And you actually never know if you're a good fit for a company until you interview with them. I was nervous to interview with plenty of companies, and then it turned out that I was a great fit for them. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself on paper. You know that from writing a resume. It's the same thing for people writing job descriptions. It's kind of difficult. So I would just take the interview anyway if you're offered one and see if you're a good fit. Give them a shot. I know that in my last video about job hunting, I mentioned that I try not to send my resume to recruiters that don't give me a job description. So I just want to clarify this a little bit more. I do take phone calls with recruiters as long as they stay on the LinkedIn platform. I don't like leaving the LinkedIn platform. If you're going to message me on LinkedIn, I'd like to keep everything there. This is my personal preference. Do what feels right to you. If someone messages you about a role that you actually think you'd be a good fit for, then do what your gut tells you. What often happens is recruiters reach out to you, they have a whole file full of roles that need to be filled. And they'll tell you the general area, or if it's completely remote, or maybe what company they're hiring for. And if you're open to all these opportunities, for sure, hop on calls with people, because what they're going to do is they're going to do what is essentially a phone screening, and that will help you with your interviewing skills and articulating what it is that you want from a job, as well as what you can offer to a job. So it's important for you to get on as many calls as possible. And then what the recruiter will generally do is just put you into their system, and then if a job comes up, then they will reach out to you. That's generally how it works. But like I said, trust your gut. Not everybody's friendly, and sometimes people are shady. All right, guys, that is it today. I tried to make it a more concise video. I hope that you guys learned from this, and remember to practice your interviewing skills. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like so that way more people can see it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.